Hi all, Plantside Agent here. Today's going to be a continuing saga of me trying to get this Indian kerosene pressure stove to burn correctly. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Okay, let's get started. Well, spoiler, I had a success. I did get it to burn correctly. And what I found out was that the pump was not working correctly. And that's the reason it wouldn't build up enough pressure to burn correctly. I was kind of wondering about that, or I got to thinking about it later. I was constantly pumping this thing. It didn't feel like it had a lot of pressure behind it, and after years of using the pumps like on Coleman stoves and lanterns, you kind of have a feel for how that's going to work out. So I did a couple of experiments to see if it was the pressure on it. And so I'll just kind of go through how all that works. So I guess to start with, the first thing I did was to see if this would hold pressure, because that was one thought. Because I was constantly pumping, even though it felt weak, I was just assumed that it was working, and it just didn't seem like it was building enough pressure. So I thought maybe there's some leak somewhere else, in and around the valves here, the filler cap. Maybe, I didn't really think it was backing off out of the pump, or maybe somewhere else. So to find out, what I did was, staying in tune here. So what I decided to do was I was going to put real pressure on it. So I decided I was going to get out my cordless pump here. And what I did was, I'll just show you what I did. Pulled out the pump that came with it, unscrewed. Show you what I did. Unscrewed the cap from it, reinstalled this, and then I took my the cordless pump. Actually has a fitting for like pumping up inflatable toys and those inner tubes and that sort of thing. It's just plastic and it fits in, and this would seal nicely. You can see this down here. It would seat nicely in here, so I could add some pressure to the stove. So, and when I did that, I lit it off. I hit it with the pump, and then it came to life, and it roared like these are supposed to roar. So obviously, that zeroed it down to the pump was the problem. So let the air out. Okay. So on investigating the pump itself, on the end cap, what I found out was this isn't this is my fix, and I'll get into that in a sec. But the way it came was, it had this little piece here that's screwed in, and the leather, in fact I think it's plastic or rubber, not leather, cup that creates the pressure. As you can see, there's quite a gap. It's seated over this. It's a plastic piece. It's seated over this, and then what happened was there was a gap between, because the thickness of the. I'm not going to take it apart to show you. The thickness of the little cup here. There was a gap in here, and I was looking at that, and I thought, well, maybe, when you push down, the cup would seat against the base here, and that would create a seal. Well, it wasn't doing that. A couple of reasons probably. I noticed there was a little flashing from when they molded this, for one, and then also with the size of the hole for the cup, it slopped around a little. So I think air was escaping around, even though it had pushed down, air was escaping around this and around that. So it really wasn't. It pumped a little bit, but not enough. I mean, you could get some pressure on it, but not enough to do a good job. Even when I pumped like crazy, it just, most of the air was escaping, so it wasn't efficient at all. So I pulled this off, took it apart, and I decided I'm just going to go ahead and see if I can put it together like the real pumps are. And I kind of knew how the real ones work because I've played around with some of them. Here's the Primus pump. I don't know how well you can see this, but there's the little cup here. And by the way, I will be replacing this one. This is one of the 47-year-old one. They usually they're on a flat piece here, a bolt or something, a nut, and then it's screwed in, so it made there's no place for the air to escape around the cup. I mean, it makes an excellent seal. So I already knew how these worked from playing with them before. So I thought, well, I wonder if I can do the same thing with this one. So what I did was, being kind of a handy person and having lots of little tools and bits and bobs around, what I did to repair this, well, first I put a washer on the bottom, so that seated on the bottom of the screw end. And then what I did was I grabbed to make up the gap between the cup down here and give it something to seal against, not just the washer. And also I only have so much thread on it, so I had to kind of build it up so everything would fit. I went ahead and used some faucet gaskets. I don't know if you guys know what these are, but when you repair faucets, household faucets, spigots and things, you can get these little round washers. So I have, as you can see, I got a whole bunch of them, different sizes and fittings. So I keep this sort of stuff around because it beats having to make a separate trip to the hardware store. And then also, I had everything I needed right here, so in my shop. So I put that little washer there, and then I put another metal washer on top of that, and then I had a nut, and I have a little case full of nuts and bolts and things. So I found one that fit, and then I was just able to, once I got it all on there, just screwed it down tight and put it all back together. Fit him in here. Oops, get in there. There we go. And it's got a nice tight seal, and even you can really feel it when it gets seated in there. So then just put it back together. I'll just do this real quick. The quality of workmanship is so much different than the old Swedish ones, but like I mentioned earlier, it's understandable. They're trying to keep these prices down on these as much as they can for their market. The people there that they sell these to don't have the money to buy these old Primus, quality Primus ones, so they kind of cut some corners. But I don't know if you can kind of see, here's on this Primus built in 1947, this is the number 51 kerosene stove. You can see how that nicely, this is all finished and smooth. This threading is all just so much nicer. Look at this, it's got rough edges on it. I probably should sand it down or buff it up so get rid of these rough edges, and it's just not as finely made, but it works. And like I said, it hits their price point that they need to make. So I said, they made these exactly like the old Primus. Nobody could afford them, probably not even us. Imagine to make this kind of quality Primus stove anymore would be very expensive. A limited market. So anyway, once that in, then it pumped really well. In fact, I have tested it all, and I did get a good burn on this. So, and I will fire this off so you can see the burn. See that it's better. Why don't I'll probably cut in a piece from the previous videos where the burn wasn't worth a squat, and so you can kind of get a comparison, and I'll try to patch that in when I start editing this thing down. So anyway, let's see. So let's go ahead and fire this guy off so you can get a look at it. So what we'll do is I'm going to close this valve off, make sure this is tight so it doesn't leak, and put in some alcohol to prime it. Tell you all this fiddling around, I started this bottle, I think it had about 7 ounces of fuel in it when I started messing with this stove and all the different primings I've done. You can see now it's down to about 2 ounces. So I think that's, it looks like it's about full. Oh, one of the things I discovered when I was testing, the pressure with using the pump here, is I was just throwing some air in it, just to see if it was working, and all of a sudden it started pumping kerosene. Probably came out of the little jet down here and pouring out filled up the cup and then spilled over, was running onto the counter. So it's kind of a mess. I'll light this guy off. Okay, I got this lid off, and when I'll turn the video off here, and when it gets a little closer to wanting to start, I'll turn it back on. While we're waiting, in case you're wondering, I did use the pricker tool to clean out the jet. Okay, hear that? It started. That's what it should have sounded like the first time. Let me, so there you go. Got it lit off here. So the way these work is, if you need more flame, you want more power, instead of turning a valve, you just pump out, add more pressure. There you go. You see that okay? Sounded about right. And the way you use these stoves, these old ones, to control the flame, let's say if you wanted to go down to a simmer or run the flame down, you just crack this open, this little valve down here, and that lets a little pressure out, but not enough to put the stove out. So you just kind of crack it. There you go. That lowered the flame. I don't know if you could hear that when it dropped it off. And then if you want to crank it back up again, just add more air. There you go, a nice roar. And again, you can put a little air out. That'll lower the flame down to about a simmer. And if it gets too low, then you can always, control the flame height just by the pump. I always kind of wondered how well these work, because I'm used to the old, like the Surveyor 123 or the other Primuses, that 71s and the 80s and those that, actually has a valve on them. But it looks like this system will work just fine. Obviously they do, because they manufactured lots of them and they've been used around the world and copied here. About as simple as you get right here. So anyway, and then to shut it down, all you do is just crack this open all the way and let all the air out. Boom, it's off. That's all there is to it. Great little stove. Now that it's working. But I'm not going to do a boil test on this one, because when I got this thing working again yesterday and got it all fired up, I said I'd run a boil test just to see how it worked. I thought about doing one for the video, but I said, nah, don't really need it. I'll just tell you what I got. I started with 2 cups, 16 ounces of 58-degree water, and it took 10 minutes and 48 seconds to come up to 211 degrees, or a boil. So I mean, that's in the ballpark of all these type of stoves, so can't really complain there. So let's see, what else can I say? I hope I covered everything. So before on the previous videos, I didn't recommend getting one of these stoves, but now that I have the fix, now whether all of them come with this hokey little cap arrangement for the pump, I don't know. Different models still have the old, the old style that works versus the cheap new style that doesn't. I think they just did it for simplification of manufacture, because all you do is screw this on and just pop that rubberized cup over the top, but it just doesn't seal with a squat. Like I said, when I was first looking at it, I did file down the little mold flashing, and I was wondering if that would seal better. But then I decided, oh, heck with it. I got the stuff. I'll just see if I can make it the correct way and not mess with this anymore. So if you decide to get one, it's something to think about. Now, I don't know. I was going to get online to see if you could find aftermarket parts or parts for these stoves, like maybe a different version of the pump cap and assembly. I didn't do that, but if you get one of these and the pump doesn't work for you, or it seems weak, then you know what to do to fix it. But other than that, once you get the pump working, the rest of the stove works as advertised. It's not really that much complication in the design. They're pretty basic, so they should work without any problem, unless there's like a leak, or I had the gasket problems with this one. But once I fix the gaskets and the pump, works just fine. Now, will I ever use this? Probably not. It'll probably just become another knick-knack dust collector, part of my collection. So, well, I can't think of anything else. Quit rambling on. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and the series, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.